Hey guys, welcome to this week's update on Evaluator, aka Cheddar, on his way to the 2022 Thoroughbred Makeover. So this week I wanted to show some videos of Cheddar's first trip off property. Cheddar lost a shoe earlier this week and my farrier wasn't able to come out, but fortunately, a farrier at my trainer's barn was already on his way out for a missing shoe for another horse, so I was able to head over there with Cheddar to get his shoe back on, and then we decided to make the most of the trip by having his first ride off property. I was pretty confident that Cheddar was going to be really good for this first trip off property just based on the way that he's been around my barn and the way he unloaded when he got to my barn for the very first time. Unfortunately, Cheddar did not make a fool out of me. He was an absolute gentleman to have his shoe tacked back on, and even though I was kind of in a rush to get back home, I decided we had enough time to try and do just a quick ride off property because Cheddar was so settled in. I thought even if I just walked him around, it would be a productive and positive first ride off property for him. So these are some clips from my first ride off property with Cheddar. The main goal of this ride was just to get on him and see what happened. But because Cheddar has been working a lot on long and low and stretching over his back to help with some back soreness that might be due to kissing spines, the main objective here was to get him to relax and stretch down over his back, even off property, carrying the extra bit of tension that involves. So because Cheddar's been so laid back and kind of lazy, I wasn't used to having him feel so forward and almost excitable. Excitable is not really the right word because he's still very, very relaxed and very, very easygoing. But this was definitely a much more on-edge Cheddar than I was used to. So we were bending him to the inside and using some suppling exercises to try to get him to relax over his back and stretch down. I was actually a little bit on the fence about whether or not I wanted to ask him to trot because I kind of thought I could just walk him and be done and make sure it's definitely a good experience. But my trainer and my teammate for the RRP convinced me that he was definitely fine to trot. And I'm glad that I did because pretty much as soon as I asked him to trot, he felt a lot more settled. And that makes sense because a lot of times our horses who are carrying a little bit of tension just need to move their feet a little bit to kind of release that. And for Cheddar, pretty much as soon as I asked for the trot, I could feel him take a deep breath and start thinking about stretching down. So we've been practicing a lot of long and low work at home, and you'll see here Cheddar comes above the bit a little bit and his headset's a little bit higher than I would like for long and low work, but keeping in mind that he's carrying some tension and this is his first ride off property, I'm pretty pleased with how quickly he settled in. So I'm using a lot of my inside leg and my inside rein to try to supple him and get him to relax over his back and stretch down. So earlier on in the ride, I wasn't putting on enough inside leg and it was making it hard for me to open up the inside rein without actually just having him turn to the inside. This was especially a problem tracking left because he's a little bit heavier on my left rein than he is on my right rein. Then you'll see, because he's so connected on that left rein, when we switch directions and start tracking right, it's actually a lot easier for me to get him to connect in the outside rein and stretch down by moving off of the inside leg and the inside rein. And even though he trips a little bit when we start tracking right, I can pretty easily start getting him to stretch down a bit more to the right. So the ride kind of continues with a focus on staying supple, stretching down, changing directions, but we really don't have a whole lot of time because I had to leave about 20 minutes after the start of our ride. One of the things I noticed looking back on these clips, in addition to my desire to improve my own rider position by sitting up straight and having a little bit better posture, is when I'm trying to get Cheddar to stretch down into the connection, you'll see a bit of a head wag from him, and that's because when I'm trying to get him to stretch down into the connection, I'm not staying consistent about which rein is my steady rein and which one is asking him to give. So I'm kind of asking him to give a little bit on the left and then asking him to give a little bit on the right, and I really should be holding one steady and asking him to give with the other. So with these last few minutes of the ride, I felt like this is where I finally was starting to get Cheddar connected and dropping down and reaching for the connection. So tracking left, like I said, it's a little bit harder, but you can start to see he's suppling a little bit and he's starting to think about actually bending, getting a little bit more of a true bend through his body and then reaching down. He still doesn't like it when I put too much inside leg on, but that's okay. It's something that's getting a little bit better for him. And then we'll change directions one last time, and this is where I felt like he was really starting to settle in. So our last bit of trot work, tracking right, I felt like he was really starting to relax. He was really seeking the contact, and he was really interested in finally stretching down for me. So he's moving forward. He's willing to bend just a little bit to the inside. He's moving off of my inside leg, and you can see his headset's just a little bit lower than it was. I actually kind of wish we'd had a little bit more time and we hadn't had to compress it into 20 minutes, but I thought Cheddar couldn't have been better for his first ride off property, and I'm really pleased with him. So thanks for watching. If you're interested in following along with Cheddar's journey to the 2022 Thoroughbred Makeover, be sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions about this video, leave me a comment below.